Welcome back to BLOCKTV. This is Crypto Crunch. Now, in the crypto sphere, there's always this clash between two sides and two schools of thought. The regulated exchanges that want KYC and AML, and the unregulated exchanges with their privacy-focused users. Last week, those two parties reached a head. Let's see. Crypto exchanges usually hold funds and provide trading liquidity for customers. Now it seems they are also starting to tell users where they can send their money. Binance, one of the biggest crypto exchanges, recently froze the funds of Twitter user Cat after he tried withdrawing his funds to a coin mixer named CoinJoin. Binance says it does not tolerate any transactions directly or indirectly associated with gambling or mixer sites. Cat, for his part, says that he was doing nothing illegal and just wanted to use the mixer to protect his identity. After much back and forth, Binance eventually unfroze Cat's funds once he promised he would not mix the funds. This incident brought the discussion about users' privacy versus law enforcement to the forefront of the cryptosphere. Regardless of where you stand on the matter, this is just one more reason that not your keys, not your crypto. And now we're joined live by the user who had his funds frozen, Bittlecat. Bittle, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Now, no problem. Now, when I made that video, I wasn't sure whether you wanted to go by Bittlecat or any name, so I just called you Cat, but no, I was referring to you. Now, run us through the story. You first saw your funds were frozen by Binance. What were you thinking?
Right, so when I first got the email, I felt that the questions that sent over were pretty silly, right? They were asking me for the purpose of why I wanted to coin join, which, well, it's precisely because I didn't want anybody to know what I was going to do with the funds, right? And that's why I coin joined. And they had also asked me about my job and my annual income, as well as some of the supporting documents for that. Now, I don't see how those questions would help with whatever that we're doing. And I was also pretty concerned that they knew where I had been withdrawing my funds to, because all I did was just place a regular Bitcoin address there. And after I explained that I was coin joining for privacy purposes, they came back with a reply that, told me that my withdrawals would be suspended until I promised not to coin join anymore. And that made me feel pretty angry, because whatever I did with the money after I withdrew from Binance shouldn't be their business, right? And that's when it really hit me, right? And as you guys said, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And I was essentially at their mercy. If they wanted, they could simply suspend my account permanently, and there'll be no way I could get my money back. I have to do what they say. So that was a pretty hard lesson for me, and I hope everybody else can learn from what happened to me. And I'm also pretty thankful. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Is it even against Singaporean law to use a coin mixer?
Not to my knowledge, no. I don't think that it's against Singaporean law to use coin mixers. I think it's just them trying to please regulators. Of course, another reason why they might want to, crack down on people using coin joins or mixers was because the mixer that I had used was Wasabi, right? The Wasabi wallet. And if I'm not wrong, recently, some of the Plus token Bitcoins were also using Wasabi to mix their coins. So I suspect that might be one of the reasons why they're looking to crack down on Wasabi coin joins.
Mm-hmm. And what you said, the reason they use a coin join was to protect your identity. Why do you feel it's so important for Bitcoin users and crypto users in general to use coin joins?
Well, I mean, coin joining essentially protects you from, other people knowing how you spend your Bitcoins or your cryptocurrency, right? And in a way, of course, I don't want the government looking at my transaction, right? Let's talk about government in a short while, but it is for personal protection, right? Having Bitcoins gives you a unique ability to transact freely on the internet, and people will want to take that kind of power away from you. So should people know that a certain public address containing Bitcoins is tied to your personal identity, you are at risk of being tracked and being robbed of it. And there's no Bitcoin customer service to go to protect your coins. You have to do it yourself. And privacy is really not the same thing as secrecy, where in this case the government is saying that I want to track your coins because I don't want you spending the Bitcoins on anything illegal, so on and so forth. Now, it's not because I'm doing anything wrong or anything illegal with these coins. All I do is that when I get my Bitcoins, I hodl them, or else I'll spend some Bitcoins at the local Bitcoin meetup, right? So again, I just don't like the government watching what I spend on. Very much like how when you go to the toilet, you close the door of your toilet cubicle, not because you're shooting drugs in the store, but because you don't like people watching.
Exactly. It's a good point. And as we mentioned, we were speaking a little bit before the show. I asked you, why. I understand why Binance would care if funds were coming in from a coin mixer, because maybe that is coming from a criminal or not. But why would they care if the funds are leaving their exchange? Why would an exchange have control over where their funds go to?
Yeah, I think, well, in a way, I can't speak for Binance Singapore, right? I would think that they would probably be, trying to please the regulators. And I don't know, I'm just pretty mad. I don't understand what is going on. If let's say you were to withdraw fiat cash from a regular bank ATM, and I use that fiat cash to buy illegal drugs or do anything illegal with it, the bank is not liable for what I do with the cash after I withdraw. So I don't really see why Binance is, concerned with what I do with the funds after I withdraw it. Now, I don't know for what reason is it that they are tracking that, but I think it sets a very worrying precedent for it.
And after this after this incident, will this make you stop using Binance? Will you take your funds out of Binance and move it to an unregulated exchange, one that doesn't require KYC?
Okay, I mean, I did withdraw my funds already, and I am, of course, seriously having a lot of second thoughts about using Binance Singapore again. And of course, there have been some suggestions for using certain exchanges for either non-KYC or decentralized exchanges such as BISC or HODL. Now, I think using a non-KYC exchange, it might take a couple more steps and it might be a bit more expensive, but I don't foresee that being a long-term solution, because eventually, either the exchange itself would become KYC again, or the bank might not like me transferring to a KYC exchange, and then the bank shuts down my entire account, right? So I'm not too sure whether the solution is going towards non-KYC exchanges. I think the question should be more of should exchanges be allowed to regulate this kind of coin joining, or how bad coin joining really is.
Do you feel that this, like you said before, do you feel like there's pressure from regulators? These exchanges are scared that if they start allowing funds coming in from coin mixers or coin joining and going to coin joining, that regulators will kind of crash down on them? And if so, then what can exchanges do?
I guess they are concerned with this because I think partially the reason why it could be that the regulators themselves do not have a clear understanding of what Bitcoin is or the value proposition behind Bitcoin, and so they are worried that people, their citizens get involved in scams, and because they're so scared of this, they crack down really hard on the regulations, and that's why exchanges follow their lead. And in that sense, I I don't exactly pin the entire blame on Binance for this, because after all, they're just playing the game, right? If they want a whole business here in Singapore, they have to follow government regulations, and that's why they're doing what they do. Now, whether or not this, I think this thing this trend will continue to go up. I think more incidents of people trying to crack down on coin joining will occur, but I don't think that they'll be very successful in their endeavors, because the very fact that they suspended my withdrawals is probably a sign that they weren't too sure where my coins went. Because if they were sure where it went to, it would be in their interest to just keep quiet about it, lay low, and let me think that the coin joins were working, and they could still quietly track me, right? But because they don't know anymore, they get scared, they probably suspend my withdrawals. So I think I expect that they will continue to try to regulate these coin joins, but I don't foresee them going very far without having to do a mass ban on withdrawals.
And if you could right now say one thing to Binance's CZ, what would you say to him?
Well, I mean, I appreciate him taking the time to respond and writing a post about this, but I felt that the post and the response was really very bureaucratic, right? It doesn't address the real issue of Binance Singapore tracking my transactions after my withdrawal, which again shouldn't be any of their business, right? I would really like to know what regulation is it that they are following to track my withdrawals. And yes, I don't blame the thing entirely on Binance Singapore, but it doesn't make what they did right. And CZ blaming the system and saying that it is out of their hands, it is talk to MAS. It was a little bit disappointing. By blaming the system, it means that no one person is responsible to fix this, and so we should just accept things the way they are. I don't think that's the way to go. And given their size in the space, I really hope that CZ can, use his voice to be a better advocate for coin joining and users' privacy in general. There's always something that can be done, both from Binance Singapore, as well as everybody else in the space, including users like me and developers of coin join implementations.
Well, Bittlecat, thank you so much for joining us, letting us know about your particular story. It is truly scary times for crypto if exchanges start cracking down on what we do with our crypto after the exchanges. Just one more reason, really, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Bittlecat, thank you so much for joining me here today. And until next time, for all our viewers at home, if you want more on blockchain and cryptocurrencies, make sure to check us out at blocktv.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.